All right, so with farming, honestly, it doesn't even matter what product you are trying to produce. It all comes back to primary productivity, right? So, I mean, if we're talking about when we were talking about all those different kinds of animals, we had talked about cattle, pigs, chickens, fish. They're all being fed grain. So, in reality, all aspects of farming um, all come back to primary productivity. Now, what is necessary to produce a high yield of any kind of a plant? It's fertile soil. It's the soil. Soil and its fertility is really the limiting factor in any of these farming type operations. Um, and what's interesting is soil is a very interesting material. Basically, what it consists of, it consists of inputs from two directions, from below and from above. So from below, what you have is you have the parental um, bedrock. You have the rock that is beneath. And over time, with the freezing and thaw and erosion and that kind of thing, this 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 bedrock becomes broken down, and it's pushed to the surface as the parental material, as the inorganic material that becomes the soil. And in lab, remember we did a soil analysis, and so we looked at the nutrients that were in there, but we also looked at whether it was sand, silt, or clay. That is from the parent material. So you have that coming up, and then from above, you have organic matter going down. And it's so as these come together, you produce soil. And so soil, in your book, it has an interesting way of describing it. It says soil is a living, can be almost thought of as a living material, and certainly it has life in it. But it itself is a precious living material. Um, when we were talking about the trophic levels, we had said that we have, the primary producers, the primary consumers, the secondary consumers, etc. But we'd said we also have decomposers. They're in the soil. So you have all these microorganisms that are in the soil, fungi and bacteria, whose job is to break down the organic matter that ends up in the soil and make the nutrients available to the plant. So it's this wonderful mixture of inorganic matter plus partially decomposed organic matter and living organisms and water and air. Those are also necessary components. And soil um, is you can produce it. What is the term I'm trying to say? It's a renewable resource. It's a renewable resource, although it takes a tremendous amount of time to produce it. It can take 100 years to produce a few inches of soil. So topsoil is, and we'll talk about the different zones, different kinds of soil here on the next slide. But topsoil is very precious because it's soil that has the right mixture of these inorganic parental materials plus the organics and the fertilizer that allows for primary productivity. On the next slide, we're going to look at the zonation. We're going to dig down through soil. We might have done this in class, except we don't have class anymore. But we're going to look at the zones of the profile, the soil profile, going from the surface down.